Hola mis estudiantes y bienvenidos a una lección sobre el subjuntivo en cláusulas adjetivales. Woohoo! So we're continuing on with our subjunctive journey, and at this point we're really going to focus on adjective clauses. And as usual, my comment will be, if you have no idea what that is, don't worry. If you don't know what adjective clauses are, I will teach you what you need to know about this. So in moving ahead with this, I want to have a quick little repaso del subjuntivo, a little review of what you should technically already know about subjuntivo. This should be review, or at least ring some kind of bell of familiarity with you. There are three things necessary to use the subjuntivo, and this is in that kind of classic, typical structure of subjuntivo. So you can kind of even pause and ask yourself what those three things are. And what you should come up with are that to use the subjuntivo, we need que, cambio de sujeto, a change of subject, and edin. And edin stands for emotion, doubt, influence, and negativity. These are the three things necessary for those classic examples of subjuntivo, the ones we started out with when we first started studying this verb mood. Then things got a little more involved when we went into subjuntivo con conjunciones. We got into the subjunctive with conjunctions, and we learned certain conjunctions that always require the subjunctive, and we learned a list of conjunctions that sometimes require the subjunctive. And hopefully you remember that I had all kind of wild and crazy mnemonic devices for remembering these, that for the always you can remember escapa, and say to yourself, un ratón siempre escapa, a mouse always escapes. And for the sometimes, you are happy to see the elephant. Bien? So you might have chosen to ignore my silly little tricks and just memorize the list, but you need to know that these are the always conjunctions and these are the sometimes conjunctions. And that with the sometimes is based on whether we're talking about something known and routine or something unknown and in the future. The unknown, the unclear, the less certain is always what goes in the direction of subjuntivo. Indicative is for certainty, subjunctive is for lack of certainty and negativity. That's the overriding concept we're dealing with here. Bien, entonces, so let's talk more about edin, emotion, doubt, influence, and negativity, and just start looking at some different examples. How I'm going to teach you this new nuance of subjunctive is just by looking at some examples. So we'll start with this question. ¿Conoces a alguien que viva en Malasia? Viva is subjunctive because it's an IR verb. I put it to the opposite ending for subjunctive. Do you know anyone that might live in Malasia? There's a whole lot of unknown here because I don't know if you know them or not. That's why I'm asking, bien. It's unknown. Do you know anyone who maybe lives in Malasia? That's what subjunctive is saying here, who maybe lives or who might live in Malaysia. If you answer no, well, a no is negative, and negativity is part of the subjunctive. No conozco a nadie que viva en Malasia. I don't know nobody that lives in Malasia. And it's subjunctive because it's a negative sentence. If I say yes, I know someone that lives in Malasia. His name is Osvaldo. That negativity is gone because I answered yes. I do know someone who truly lives in Malaysia. And so it went back to indicative. It went back to that normal IR verb ending vive in the affirmative answer. So you can see that in this nuance of subjunctive, negative statements will go to subjuntivo and affirmative statements will be in the indicative because they're certain. Bueno, más ejemplos. Let's take a look at this one. Necesito el sobre que está encima del escritorio. ¿Puedes dármelo? I need the envelope that is on top of the desk. Can you give it to me? This is a statement of certainty. I need the envelope that is on top of the desk. That envelope exists. I can probably see it. It is actually on top of the desk and I need you to give it to me. So está is in the indicative. It's a real envelope that exists. However, if I say this, necesito un sobre que sea grande y blanco. I need an envelope that might be big and white. I need an envelope, some hypothetical envelope. I don't see it on the desk. This envelope might not even exist, okay? There might not even be one available for me. So there's all kinds of uncertainty about it. That's why it goes to subjuntivo sea. Sea is the subjunctive of sed. Bien. Bueno, voy a la carnicería que está en la calle central. I am going to the meat shop that is on calle central. The meat shop. I know that it exists. I know the address. Maybe I've even been there before. It's a known entity, so it's indicativo. Está. Busco, this is a different situation. I'm looking for a meat shop that is near the house of Juan. So I know I'm going to Juan's house this afternoon. I would like to find I guess I'm supposed to say butcher shop. I would like to find a butcher shop that's near Juan's house. Oops. But it's unknown. There might not be one. Or I could get there and find that they're closed. So given all those unknown factors, it's subjuntivo. I'm looking for it. I don't know if it exists. So esté. Busco una carnicería que esté cerca de la casa de Juan. Quiero hablar con la señora alta que habla francés e italiano. I want to talk to the tall lady that speaks French and Italian. I know, sorry, my stuff is also out of whack here with my animations. I want to talk to the tall lady that speaks French and Italian. I know she exists, so it's indicative. However, quiero hablar con alguien que hable japonés is unknown. I want to talk to someone that speaks Japanese. I might not find them. There might not be anyone available near me who speaks Japanese. There's uncertainty about it, so that's why it's hable, subjuntivo. Otro ejemplo. En mi barrio hay una casa grande con 5 alcovas y una piscina. In my neighborhood, there really is a big house with 5 bedrooms and a swimming pool. There's no doubt about it. I've seen it. I know the address. It's there. It exists. However, los Rodríguez buscan una casa que tenga 5 alcovas y una piscina. Who knows if they'll find it? The Rodriguezes are looking for a house that might have 5 bedrooms and a swimming pool. It might not be available. They might have difficulty finding this house, and when they find it, they might not be able to buy it. So there are all these unknowns included. That's why it's tenga, subjuntivo. Bien? Pay attention to making questions when keeping in mind this nuance of subjuntivo. ¿Hay un cajero automático que esté cerca del museo? Is there an automatic teller, an ATM, that is near the museum, that might be near the museum? There's all this doubt involved. We don't know if we'll find one or not. If I answer yes, sí, hay un cajero automático en el banco que está frente al museo. No te preocupes. Yes, there is an ATM at the bank that is across from the museum. I know it. I've been there. I can show you the address. It's certain, so it's indicative. But the negativity, no hay ningún cajero automático que esté cerca del museo. There is not an ATM that is near the museum. Even if you're sure of that fact, pay attention to that. Even if you're sure that there's no ATM, the sentence is still negative, and it's the negativity that inspires the use of subjuntivo, and the negativity is what makes it subjunctive. Bueno, bien. Let me show you some other stuff, más detalles. Don't lose sleep over this slide and the next one, but I'm going to share it with you so that you have the exposure. Usamos a personal en español para indicar que la acción le ocurre a un ser vivo. We use a personal to show that the action occurs to a living being. We've talked about this a little bit before in previous experiences. Veo a Marisela los lunes en la clase de biología. I see Marisela on Mondays in biology class. I put the a in there in Spanish to show that Marisela is a living being. It doesn't translate to anything, and this is something unique to Spanish. It's not in any other Romance language, so yay. Bien. How about this example? Invitamos a nuestros primos a la fiesta. We invited our cousins, they are living beings, to the party. So there's a personal, and it clarifies who's alive and who's not in a sentence. It can be helpful. No usamos a personal con sujetos hipotéticos. So we don't use a personal if it's a hypothetical subject, as in, necesito un asistente que sepa trabajar con la gente. I need an assistant that might know how to work with people. There's no because it's a hypothetical. I don't know if I'm going to find this assistant or not. I need one. I'm looking for one. Busco un estudiante que quiera investigar tradiciones peruanas. I'm looking for a student who might want to research Peruvian traditions. But there's no because it's not a specific student. It's a hypothetical student. Be aware of this. Take this in. I really don't want you losing sleep over this part of it. It might come up on the supersite, but just kind of deal with it as you go. If you're struggling with subjunctive, this is not the part I want you to focus on. A couple more examples. Pero si usamos a personal con sujetos específicos y alguien, nadie. So if it is a specific subject or if there's alguien or nadie, we still use a personal. Buscamos a alguien que pueda llenar formularios. We're looking for someone who might be able to fill out forms for Spanish speakers. No conozco a nadie que sepa Swahili. The a before the nadie. I don't know nobody who might speak Swahili. So just be aware of those nuances of when we use a personal and when we don't, but make the overall subjunctive your priority. With that in mind, here is some practice that you really need to sit down and carefully and slowly work through. Just 8 of these to give a try, and then we will, my message is popping up here, just 8 of these to give a try, and then check yourself on the next slide. Really focus on that notion of certainty, which is indicative, versus uncertainty or negativity, which is subjuntivo. And then I'll reveal the answers. So here we go. These are the answers for those 8. I've given you the correct answer given the context of the sentence, as well as a little bit of an explanation. Like, for instance, that it's subjunctive because it's unknown, or subjunctive because it's negative, or indicative because it's known and exists. So hopefully those ideas can help you as you navigate your way through subjuntivo and cláusulas adjetivales. And finally, un pensamiento profundo. Busco a alguien que me entienda. So there's all kinds of stuff in this little beam. The a with alguien, and then entienda is subjunctive. I'm looking for someone who might understand me. Don't know if I'll find them. Maybe no one out there ever will understand me. Para que luego me explique. Para que, hello. This is one of our always conjunctions, so we've got subjunctive all over the place here. Para que requires the subjunctive in the next verb. Para que luego me explique. Also subjuntivo. So that later that person can explain me to me. Bien, that's the idea that's coming across here. I'm looking for someone who understands me so that they can explain me, like to myself is the idea. So that's why he's laughing so hard, because it's hysterical, ¿verdad? Bien. Okay, muchas gracias. Buena suerte con el subjuntivo. This isn't something you check off overnight. This is a concept that grows over time. So keep practicing, keep working with the examples, and let me know how I can help you along the way. Hasta luego.